Hello, it's Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest video. Today I'm going to share a flip through of the latest little book that I've completed in my challenge series. And this is something that I host over on Patreon every month, where each month we pick a particular subject to focus on. And the one that I picked for August was fonts, so trying out as many different fonts as I could to try and get some new ideas and inspiration for my journals. So I make these little books each month. They're 4 inches square, and for this one I used some Tim Holtz scrapbooking paper for the cover. And I've got a few different books on fonts, and I also set up a Pinterest board with lots of ideas so that I could try some different things out, because I find in my journals I tend to use the same font styles over and over again. So for this one I did some faux calligraphy and left it open on dotted paper. And on this craft paper I did the same thing with the faux calligraphy, but I then coloured in the kind of inside open bits using some gel pens. And it reminded me how much I actually really like this kind of style, and how you can then bring lots of different colours in even if you don't have brush pens in those colours. And for this one it was kind of a bubble font, and coloured them in with coloured pencils and added some different details using a white gel pen. And this font I really liked. In fact, I've used this one already in one of my craft journal pages, and I really liked that because it looks like little arrows on each of the letters. And I like fonts that don't take perhaps masses of time, but you can just add a few details to make them look a little bit different and stand out. For this one, again, I used some gel pens, and then again just added some different detailing inside the letters. And I've often added some extra decorations on the pages too. This font I loved, and I saw that on Pinterest, and it definitely took a little bit more time. I had to do them all in pencil first to work out where my different flowers and leaves were going to go, but I absolutely love that font. I think if I was doing a cover page or something, then I'd really like to try and incorporate something like that. This one was from one of the books that I've got, and I really like the way you just colour up until your kind of next line. I think that's really effective and nice and easy to do. And I thought this was a nice quirky little font. I think again I found that one on Pinterest. And I find it just helps to kind of stretch me a little bit and perhaps think slightly differently from just picking up the same pens and the same fonts every time. This one I loved, looks a little bit like ice cream running down. And this one I thought was really effective. And so that's some coffee dyed paper that I've included in here. And I just then drew out the squares, added the letters inside, and then coloured in the rest with some coloured pencils. This one's probably most like my normal font. For this one I did some bubble writing and then used 2 different blues of watercolour on there, and that's on Tomo River paper. And for this I used some scrapbooking paper. In fact, it was the one that I used for this cover, and cut out the letters. And I never do that in my journals, but actually I really like that, and then combining it with some handwritten fonts as well. For this I used some acrylic paint. I started off by adding florals all over the background, and I then used a thick pen to outline my letters and used some acrylic paint around the outside of them. And I really like that because you can see the flowers and the details popping through those letters, and that's definitely something I want to do again. This one I went through a magazine and cut out some words. In fact, I've put quite a few of them in a little bowl so that I can start trying to piece together some different fonts to make quotes for my journals. That one just nice and simple with lines going across the writing. I used a gel pen for that. That one, I just saw that quote and thought that was really funny, so just had a play with that one. For this I used a paintbrush, and I used that to actually do all of the lettering and just use 2 different colours, and then I went around, once it was dry, I went around it with my gel pen afterwards, just to make sure that it was quite a nice way of being able to tidy up any slightly messier bits from using a paintbrush for brush lettering. And again, this one was with watercolour, and I then added some kind of doodly lines on top. That I thought was quite a nice bold font, and definitely would be something good to do if you wanted some keywords to stand out on your journal pages. This one I used one of my stamp sets for, to stamp out the quote, and I love that. It's like a vintage style alpha kind of typewriter stamp set. This one was just a white gel pen, which always looks great on black paper. And again, I used a different coloured gel pen for that. For this one, I used a stencil with 2 different colours of distress ink. So I used a brown on the bottom and then a blue on the top. And one of the things I love about doing this is then over on Patreon, we've got a private Facebook group, and seeing how other people are getting on and interpreting the challenge each month is just such a lovely way of getting new ideas. For this one I used a highlighter pen with a chisel nib and used that for the lettering. This one was gel pens, and I found a little doodle of a bee and added that, and I just thought that looked really cute. And that's just on old book pages. And these ones were, I just used a black pen for the outline of both of those, and then coloured pencils inside. And I didn't get the kind of sizing quite right on that Y, but I actually really liked that idea of then adding the little balloon bottoms on there with the strings coming down. And then my last couple, that was done with some acrylic paint pens. And this one I did a watercolour wash, kind of blended on the background, and then added my brush lettering on top. And I'm just so happy to have these, because anytime I'm doing my journal pages now, if I feel a little bit stuck for new ideas, I've got things. So some of the different topics we've focused on was patterns, leaves, flowers, the colour blue, and feathers. And I have these in a little pouch on my desk so that I can just have a quick look at them anytime, so I'm feeling a little bit stuck and wanting something to add to my journals. If I'm starting to have a look through these now, I know there's going to be plenty of ideas there that I can incorporate. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing that, and as always, a massive thank you to everybody who's joined me over on Patreon. So I hope you're doing really, really well. Thank you ever so much for watching. I look forward to speaking with you really soon in my next video.